So Beryl Friedman says, I am the Brooklyn congregation, and what's the first act he does? He says, they're right. I'll authorize, take 50% of the congregation, and let's turn it, the cemetery, and let's turn it over to a faction which is litigating, and is a hostile faction, and have a 50-50 situation.
What is the practical problem at the moment created by the cemetery?
The practical problem is this, because they walk around saying, notwithstanding all the rulings of the appellate division, by the way, even after the appellate division...
Yeah, but my question is really, are people being allowed to visit their loved ones and bury people? Is there a problem with that?
Okay, here's the problem. The Brooklyn congregation has said, unlike the other congregation, unlike what's been said to you today, the Brooklyn congregation that we represent has said that we will honor and continue, and we have not had there's nothing in the record that says we haven't done it at all. We've honored it. In contrast, what they've tried to do is have their management people say, when we want permission or to coordinate any burials or funeral process, we recognize Beryl Friedman as the head of the Brooklyn congregation. So they control KJ, they control the Kiryas Joel congregation, and they also want to say they control Brooklyn, so we could be cut out, and all the money due for selling the cemetery...
And if you prevail, does it go on that way, Mr. Mullen?
No, because we have pledged in writing to continue the same practices that we have in the past. And the experts, the Burial Society has said that the practice has been, if somebody lives in Kiryas Joel, they have a right to be buried there. If someone is living in Brooklyn or anywhere else in the world, it has to be coordinated by our office. And we have, through 6.5 years of litigation, we have not given a single instance of an example of anyone coming forward and saying we have not continued to honor the practice. By the way, in contrast, when Rabbi Zalman's wife went to the grave of Joel and Moshe Teitelbaum, there was an incident where she was stoned by the youthful supporters in KJ. That's in the record. We have said there's got to be coordination. And what was the reason? Among the reasons, I might point out, approximately 89% of the people buried there come from the Brooklyn congregation. Approximately 83% of the people who bought prepaid burial plots came from the Brooklyn congregation.
But you say if you prevail, nothing changes. The Kiryas Joel has full access and...
Absolutely. Absolutely. As it has been. We have been, it's interesting.
And what if they prevail?
Oh, I believe it'll be a prescription for chaos, because we had an invasion when Justice Rosenwasser made this what he called a preliminary kind of decision that didn't mean to have it be a final ruling on October 21st.
You still would have 50%. You still would own 50% of the cemetery.
I'm sorry?
You still have 50% title.
Yes, with a hostile partner who we don't get along, they're suing each other, and the hostile partner says, when I want Brooklyn's consent, I'll go to Beryl Friedman.
But if you prevail, you'll still have a hostile partner.
No, first of all, if we prevail, we will at least have 100% of title as the law requires. At least it's clear who is owner.
But you say you will continue to allow them full privileges.
Yeah, yes.
Though they're a hostile partner.
Yes, but we cannot be blocked. If it's clear the transfer was invalid, there can't be a diversion of the funds. The collecting of the dues.
Is it fair to say that in the years, and I gather there's been some back and forth because they won before Justice Goldwasser, has anybody actually tried to keep anybody out of this cemetery? On either side?
The answer is no, with the exception of what occurred with Rabbi Zalman's wife.
Which I assume they're going to say was nothing to do with them, was hotheads.
Some youthful kids there. However, when you deal with, all of you have been practicing attorneys. When you deal with law enforcement, we've always had the ability to say to the state police, to say to other law enforcement, we are the owner of the cemetery. And we are setting up, coordinating, and orderly. When there's a holiday and you have large people coming and there are large processions, someone has to be the owner. Someone has to take care of insurance. Someone has to take care of liability. And we have been the owner. And to say that 12.8, they gloss over the language. I don't think there was a clear answer, or there was an answer. I think it was an incorrect answer to your question about 12.8 and 12.9, because 12.8 specifically has language that says it's triggered where there's been compliance with the statute. The first words of 12.8 make it clear that it's not to all applications, and that is being glossed over by my adversary. So 12.8 has very important words, and in the first couple of phrases of 12.8, it clearly contemplates where it has been complied with the rest of the statute. And McKinney's sections 95, 96, 97, 98 all say that interpreting a statute, you have to look at A, the mischief sought to be remedied, B, the general purpose and spirit. All parts must be harmonized and read together. So what was the purpose? The purpose was to protect nonprofits, to protect religious corporations. That was the purpose.
Mr. Mullen, do you agree with what Mr. Novak has told us, that there is no internal mechanism within the satmar?
That's absolutely incorrect. The Kunzes document, which was signed by Beryl Friedman in 1999 before the litigation, described Rabbi Zalman as the chief judge of the Williamsburg court. The rulings, we have placed into evidence the religious proclamations from in January 15th, you had the rabbinical judges speak at A289.
So there are rabbinical judges?
The rabbinical judges, the chief judge, Judge Friedman, was appointed by the founder of the Satmar community, Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum.
Is this the same Mr. Friedman we keep talking about?
No. It's a chief rabbi who was appointed by Joel Friedman, definitely not Beryl Friedman.
I didn't think so.
That's right. And in the bylaws itself, that they acknowledge, I'm using a language that is also in their version, not even the neutral version. It talks about that the Rebbe is the head of the religious court of Satmar. What they've done is, can you imagine a Catholic church saying, let's go to an Episcopalian religious court? Can you imagine the Episcopalians saying, let's go to a Methodist court?
Were there efforts to resolve the cemetery issues?
Absolutely. And in fact, the chief judge invited the other faction to pursue an appeal. If you disagree with our proclamations, bring us the dispute.
Was there a proclamation on the cemetery issue?
Yes. I'm sorry. On the cemetery issue, there was the proclamation is that Beryl Friedman, the person who called and again they want to get away from Beryl Friedman. He called the meeting. The January 14th meeting was a rump meeting. They don't even say who attended. They have a bunch of names. They don't spell out. They admit it was their people there. They don't say what roles they played or what roles our people played. They don't say what notices they gave and controlled. So if Beryl Friedman if he had been expelled and was not a member, and you can't be an officer and not be a member. So if in fact he had been expelled, and if there was a direct prohibition by the Grand Rebbe, and afterwards, after the riot in October 2005, Rabbi Zalman, as chief judge of the Brooklyn congregation, and the judges of the congregation said, you are banned from the congregation. These are rulings that they're asking you to overrule, ignore, evaluate religious rulings of an institution that has been there. There's nothing in the record, 4,500 pages. The worst they've said, they've never said there's no Satmar court. In the record, what they said is these are unelected, I repeat, unelected judges compensated by the congregation. They don't say that we're wrong that they weren't appointed by the founding Grand Rebbe. They don't say we're wrong that the other two judges were appointed by the second Grand Rebbe. There's not a single word in 4,500 pages. And when they say coup, and you worry about what can happen, I'm the one who argued before Justice Barish. I'm the one who ran to the appellate division. If there was a coup and a takeover, you'd see in one affidavit saying, I'm the treasurer of the congregation, and I was denied access to books and records. I've been the regular treasurer. I dealt with Chase Manhattan Bank. I was paying all the bills. There'd be an affirmation from a secretary of the congregation who says, I am the secretary for years, I'm taking care of the records, now they barred me from the premises. There'd be a member of the board, even a member of the board of Brooklyn congregation saying I wasn't allowed to come to meetings.
Is there any record that Mr. Friedman ever transacted any business for the corporation other than this deed?
There's no question that he was at one time, he was and they misstated this to Justice Rosenwasser.
Well, I guess,
he
I
was a
didn't mean
co-president.
ever. I mean, after the disagreements in early 2001.
After 2001, well, then he got involved with purporting to transfer the cemetery.